The last 2 weeks, we've had tons of company here, and I was able to provide meals for everyone that was staying or visiting without changing my grocery budget at all, just using those simple ingredients that I buy when I go grocery shopping. In this video, you are going to find some of those simple tricks that I used just to stretch out those meals a little bit more and feed more people. We started this meal series at the beginning of January 2025, and I love being able to showcase some of the meals that we're making every 2 weeks. We put out a new video, and this is meals number 21. This is also the place where I get to vlog some of my life. So I get to show you a little bit of what is happening behind the scenes and what we're up to. Our grocery budget is $135 per person, and for the last year and a half or so, it's just been my husband and I, so our grocery budget has been $270 per month. I show all of my grocery hauls here on the channel if you want to see the ingredients that I'm buying to bring into my house, but I love this meal series because it shows you not only the different meals that we're making, but my produce that is weeks old. At the time when this video starts, it's exactly 4 weeks since I went to the grocery store, and we even had my mom coming in for a visit. So those first days, I did not make an excuse to go to the grocery store. I just used the things that I had, even though we had company in town. I don't get to see my mom very often, so whenever I do, it is very special, and she got to spend almost a full week in our new house. So when she got to come, it was exactly 4 weeks since we moved into our house, and she got to spend a lot of time with all of the family members. At the very end of the Meals 20 video, you would see me browning up some hamburger and some veggies that we had for dinner with a homemade hamburger helper meal. And then with that browned hamburger and veggies that was extra, I put it in a glass dish and put it away in the refrigerator, knowing that I was going to need something quick and easy when we got home with my mom. So I took that hamburger that was already cooked and those veggies, and I put it in a pot. I added beans to it and tomatoes and chicken stock, and I was able to make it into a chili really quickly. And since I didn't know for sure exactly how many people were going to be showing up when we got back with my mom, it was really easy to be able to add some more ingredients into the pot and make that stretch a little bit further. So that was the first night of having many people here for dinner, but it was almost zero effort on my end to make sure that we had some chili for everybody to have for dinner and we could still visit with my mom. The next day we had some pulled pork that I had in the freezer that I pulled out, and we put some barbecue sauce on that and warmed it up, and we had it on tortillas instead of bread. My mom is also diabetic like me, so I thought the tortilla would be a little bit better than having hamburger buns. And then we had carrot sticks with that and some cashews because I was craving something crunchy and salty. We also had a side of black beans with this. I've been making black beans pretty often. I love just cooking them in the pan with a little bit of cumin and lemon or lime juice, and it tastes delicious. My mom was very busy with a special visitor that was here to spend time with her. So I was able to spend some time in the kitchen while they were visiting, and I peeled some potatoes and cut them up and kept them in some cold water earlier in the day so I could make some mashed potatoes later. And with that, I made some shepherd's pie. But since I had some extra time and we were just hanging out at home, I made sure to make extra mashed potatoes that I could put in the freezer also. And with the shepherd's pie, I made sure to load that ground beef down with vegetables. So we put a full zucchini in there, carrots and celery and onions, and really bulked up how much veggies were in the shepherd's pie. Then I also added a little bit of tomato paste and some broth to that. And then towards the end, I put a little bit of frozen peas in the mixture of it. And this was enough for a family dinner for all of us because all the kiddos were home to see grandma. And I also made it big enough that I could put a little bit aside for another meal for Mike and I that I put in the freezer, and another container of mashed potatoes that we could have at any time also. That extra time that I was in the kitchen while my mom was with her visitor, it really worked out that we had a family dinner for that and also a couple more meals in the freezer. We didn't have any extra company on this day, just my mom here. And so I was able to pull that butternut squash soup out of the freezer, and that is what we had. And that also had some beans in it and cottage cheese all blended up. So it had a bumped up amount of protein in it, which was just delicious. We did have soup a couple times when mom was here, but again, we are switching from it being warm and hot in this area all the way through October. It's been a little bit more chilly and wet out, and just having those warm, cozy meals has just warmed up our soul. And I love that you can make soup and then put it in wide mouth pint jars or pint-and-a-half jars and put it in the freezer, and then you don't get tired of leftovers. You can pull it out another day and be super excited to have a different meal. This was another night of everyone here for a family dinner. And again, I haven't been to the grocery store in 4 weeks, and I still pulled off a family dinner. We had fresh carrots and celery and onions and zucchini with peppers that I ended up making a yakisoba. With that, I used some steak strips that I had and cooked those up. I have an allergy-friendly teriyaki sauce and an allergy-friendly yakisoba recipe on the blog. If you're interested, like us, we have a soy allergy, so I have to make most of our sauces from scratch. We do have one vegetarian in our family, one of our kiddos, so I made sure when I was making theirs that I didn't mix everything together with the meat until the very end so I could dish up their portion. So we had the meat and the vegetables and then ramen noodles. I like the ones from Costco that only have a few simple ingredients in them. And I was feeding like 7, 8 people this night, so it was really easy to use up the things that were in my refrigerator and then just to add a little bit more ramen noodles to it, and we could feed the whole crowd pretty easily. This point, it has been over a month and we still haven't put our TV up in the house. We have decided where it's going to go, but we haven't had the time to even hook it up yet. So we've kind of been screen free as far as TVs for a while, but it was the Mariners playoff game and my mom did not want to miss it. So we ended up walking down into town and going to a local restaurant that had it on the screens and had hamburgers for dinner. We were really hoping for a win and that she could see them go to the World Series, but it was still really special. Growing up, we went to the Kingdom and saw the Mariners games all of the time, and she is such a huge fan. On this day, we actually drove to take my mom all the way back home, and I have one of my kiddos with me, the one that's a vegetarian. And so we were trying to decide on what to get for dinner because it was a long drive. And we decided since we were going by Trader Joe's, it would be really fun to go in and see what was available at Trader Joe's. So instead of using our eating out budget, we ended up going in there and we got some Caesar salad, which they picked off the chicken on their Caesar salad, and some tortillas, and we made Caesar salad wraps that we were able to eat and then head back home. But we also got our favorite snack. This bag is almost empty. We have ate it, but the Trader Joe's version of Pirate Booty is our favorite and such a treat. Normally I would store that in a glass jar, but we were eating it in the car and so it didn't make it into a jar. But if you store it in the glass jar, it will actually stay fresh for a really long time, 1 to 2 months after you've opened it up. While we were at Trader Joe's, I also got this little jar of pesto. I love picking these up and having one handy because this is a great size we can use for 1 to 2 meals for our family. So instead of getting takeout, we did a quick trip to Trader Joe's and we used our eating out budget to do that. This was a really great choice for us because we both deal with allergies with preservatives and additives. So being able to pick up things at the grocery store that we could check the ingredients on instead of going and getting takeout was a much better choice for us. And when we were taking my mom home, we got to go see my dad in the nursing home, and it was really great to see him, and he was really excited. So I'm gonna post a picture of my mom and dad, and you can tell me who you think I look more like. Okay, this has nothing to do with meals, but I think it's such an important conversation, and I want to share it with you. As we were on this long car ride with my kiddo and my mom, they started asking my mom questions about what her favorite color was or what her favorite flower was. And I knew exactly why they were asking those questions. We have normalized in our family having those conversations about our last wishes. And I knew my kiddo was asking those questions so we can make the right choices someday when it comes to picking out the flowers for a funeral or something. We have these conversations about once a year, just making sure that we've updated any plans, we've made any changes we need to, but we talk about it so often, not in a negative way, just in a way that our family knows what we would like and how that is going to happen and all of the details, that it just becomes something that's almost comforting to our family members that they don't have to stress about things as they're also grieving. And that might be a really weird topic to talk about in the middle of a meals video, but it is such an important topic to be talking about with your family that a long car ride is such a good time to do it. With that, we also make sure our kiddos know important things that they're going to need to know and where to locate those important things. And like with us just moving, we're making sure by the end of the year that we've updated our paperwork with our new address and new information. This is just a great reminder to have those conversations with your family and make sure that you're not leaving a burden behind for them so they can remember everything with love and grace. If you would like more information on how we legacy plan for our future and for our family, I would be happy to do a video on that if we have interest in it. After we got back home, the next day was all about grocery shopping. And before I went grocery shopping, I made to restock those pantry items in my kitchen that were low. So I went to our long-term food storage and I refilled our oatmeal jars that were running low. And this was a great way for me to know exactly what I had on hand and what I needed to restock up on. And I love that I'm able to buy in bulk and plan out 3 to 5 years in the future of the ingredients that I'm going to use. So we went grocery shopping. It was about 45 minutes each way to go to the farm stand, then Costco, and then we went to 𝐂𝐿𝐍𝐿. So I made sure that we did all of our grocery planning for the month on October 19th when we went grocery shopping. Those videos are already on the channel. We try to post those within a couple days of me going grocery shopping, where these videos come out 2 weeks after whenever the 2-week period was. So sometimes it'll be a few weeks after I went grocery shopping that you see this. That's really confusing. Just know that we post a new meal video every 2 weeks. So even though it was the middle of October going grocery shopping, I'm already thinking about those things that I need for Thanksgiving. So one of those is a special cheese that we make for our broccoli casserole dish. This is one of my mom's recipes that we do for the holidays. And I wanted to make sure that I had enough cheese. And then I ended up deciding that I was going to film a video for that also. So I got cheese for Thanksgiving and for the video. That video will be coming up before Thanksgiving so you can see it. And if you need more Thanksgiving ideas, make sure to check out the newsletter link in the description. We're going to be sending out a newsletter survival guide to everybody on our email list. For dinner when we got home, I knew I wanted to concentrate on washing produce and getting everything put away, and it had been a really long day. So we just pulled some of those enchiladas that I had batch cooked that were in the freezer. We put those in the oven, and while I was starting to put groceries away, we were able to warm up dinner and then sit down and eat. And then the next day, I ended up making a huge pot of tomato sauce with those fresh tomatoes that I got from the farm stand. So I was able to make sauce not only for dinner that night, but then I put a bunch in jars and put it into the freezer. After it's cooled down overnight, it went into the freezer in jars. And then we have tomato sauce ready to go for many months to come. The next day, still using that tomato sauce, but something totally different. I made some cabbage rolls. Well, that's what I was hungry for, was cabbage rolls. But then my energy level just tanked on me, and I decided I didn't want to wait to steam cabbage rolls and then actually roll them and bake them. So I ended up making the filling for cabbage rolls and then just chopping up some cabbage to steam. I got this humongous cabbage that was bigger than my head from the produce stand, and I was able to also cut up extra of the cabbage and put it in the freezer that I can add to recipes all year long. And then that filling is kind of the same filling you would use for stuffed peppers also. So I was able to make it for dinner that night. We just had it laid over some cabbage as a cabbage bowl. And then I put the filling and the cabbage away separately in the freezer, and we can pull it out for like 3 or 4 more meals still. I did take a little video of this and I showed it on Instagram the day I was using it, but this is a pepper and an onion that were 5 weeks old that I was using to make some taco meat. I made taco meat for that night, also for filming a video that will be coming out really soon, and then a couple more portions that went into the freezer, but that pepper was 5 weeks old. So the first month it was in the refrigerator, and then about a week before that I had cut and used half of it and then put the other slices in a glass jar with a metal lid, and it was still completely fresh at the 5-week mark since I went to the grocery store. And I made those Crunch Wrap Supremes again with that taco meat, which we ended up having for a family dinner, which was really great. Everybody ended up coming over, and that was a really easy thing to be able to pull out the taco meat and then make dinner really easily and spread it out so everybody got fed. And again, I haven't added to my grocery budget at all, even though we're having a lot more family meals here. We did film a video for the Crunch Wrap Supremes, and that will be up on the channel probably within a week or 2 after this video is up. I just want to share this picture because it is so pretty, and I know people tune in from all over the world, but to see the fall leaves right outside our door, it's just magical watching all the leaves fall from the trees. I really feel like we moved to a Hallmark movie set. I was having kind of a hard day. That just kind of happens when the weather changes. If you haven't seen my video, I have reflective sympathetic dystrophy, and it attacks my joints sometimes. And I can go days on days without any pain at all and then just have a really hard day. And this was one of them. So I ended up pulling out some chicken pot pie that was in the freezer that we had made the filling for. And then those frozen pie crusts came in really handy that I could just pour it into a pie plate and we were able to have dinner. But as I was doing that, I looked out the window and there were 2 people outside putting on ski masks, and it made me a little nervous. And then a few seconds later, still watching them because they had ski masks on in front of my house, I noticed that they ended up putting pumpkins on top of their head, and they were doing a photo shoot out in the middle of the road. And it just cracked me up and made my day, and we are going to share a picture of that. Mike even went out and offered to take some pictures so all 3 of them could get in a picture together. And then I was just laughing at my husband that he was out there with these people with pumpkins on their head in the middle of the street. So with making all of that tomato sauce, I bribed a kiddo that I would swap apples from their tree for some tomato sauce. So I got delivered a freshly picked tub of apples that we will use all fall and winter long. But I am going to then give them some of my tomato sauce that I made, and it was a great trade to be able to get something that I needed and help them as a family. With having fresh apples in the house, it made me want to have that pork chop recipe that I've shared a couple times now with pork chops and grilled onions and spiced apples. It is so delicious, especially paired with like mashed potatoes. On this night, I made beef stroganoff for dinner, and I try to focus on single ingredient items as much as possible. For me, it's an issue with having additives, so I don't really buy things like cream of mushroom soup very often, but I do normally have things like Greek yogurt in the house or cream cheese that it makes it really simple to thicken up a sauce, and that is what I did for the beef stroganoff. And I served this with fresh mushrooms over some buttered noodles. And I didn't defrost any of my chicken stock out earlier. I just kind of use chicken stock most of the time for everything. It doesn't have to be beef stock. It totally worked. I had frozen it in my super cubes, so it was really easy just to pop one of those out of the super cubes and put it right in the hot pan, and it almost instantly defrosted so then I can make the sauce. While that was cooking, I made sure to spend that time wisely that I was in the kitchen, and I chopped up some vegetables so they were handy to grab out of the refrigerator at any time. So whenever I have extra time while something's cooking on the stove, to be able to cut up a couple extra carrots or celery and to get those things prepped. I don't always do those on the night that I go grocery shopping. I try to kind of spread it out over a couple days. But once I have the carrots cut, they will stay fresh in a glass jar for a month. And I was also multitasking while I was doing this, and I had some pumpkin roasting in the oven, and then I was able to make that easily into puree, which was going to go into the freezer. And then the next day we made some pumpkin high protein muffins. That video is already up on the channel and the recipe is on the blog. I love having pumpkin puree in the freezer that I can add to meals all year long, but especially in the fall and winter time. And having something like these high protein pumpkin muffins on hand, we can have them as a dessert, or also we have them for breakfast sometimes. And on this day when we were filming, we did the pumpkin muffins and also some high protein bagels that I ended up filming for a video. And then we ended up using them for dinner. So we sliced those, and I had my team member here that we wanted to stay for dinner time. And so I had only pulled out 2 chicken breasts out of the freezer, and I decided to dice those up, and I added a little bit of that pesto sauce that I showed you. And on those bagels, we had lettuce and peppers and different veggies, and then we had the sliced up chicken on that and had bagel sandwiches for dinner. Another thing that we were filming that we might as well just eat also was that broccoli casserole that I was talking about. That is my mom's recipe that we use for Thanksgiving and Christmas. So that video will also be up on the channel soon. Earlier in the day, knowing that it was going to be a busy evening, around 10:30, I browned up some stew meat and cut up some vegetables, and I made a stew that I put in the crock pot just to simmer all day long over in the crock pot, knowing that we were going to have trick-or-treaters and we would be kind of busy. We had no idea that where we live in town was going to be so popular, and trick-or-treating started at 3:30. So there was a town event, and then they spread out to the streets, and we had trick-or-treaters from 3:30 to 8 o'clock. And it honestly was an epic experience, and I am so glad that we've moved to this small town and there's such a community spirit here. I totally look at trick-or-treaters as being community involvement and getting to know your neighbors. And so it was a really fun event to be a part of. And I love dressing up. So this year, Mike and I were dressed up as cows. We did eat that stew later in the evening, and I had made such a huge pot that I put it in the refrigerator so we could warm it up and have it later. This was again one of those nights that I didn't know if it was just going to be Mike and I for dinner, or if I was going to end up feeding everyone, which I did. Everybody showed up in their costumes and got to spend the rest of their evening here, and it was just such a lovely time to be all together with our family. And that's where we're going to wrap this video up. This is Halloween night, so the next video will start on November 1st. But it's just really been able to prove to me that we don't need to add to our grocery budget right now. I'm able to just stretch out some of those meals that we're having and think of things a little bit different. And I've been able to stick to that grocery budget of $135. Honestly, with having team members here, my mom here for a week, and so many family dinners, I kind of felt like I could justify going to the grocery store and buying more things, but I didn't need to. I really, really hope that you follow this journey with me on making sure that I'm sticking to my grocery budget and having zero food waste to help you have some ideas in your home too, how you can stretch out your grocery budget a little bit more. This is my zero waste produce guide that has 75 produce items A to Z and how we have zero waste. It has all of the tips on how to keep produce items fresh for weeks. Then we also have our grocery planner. This comes in 5 different covers. I love that this covers 6 months at a time, so you can keep track of your fall and winter meals, and then again switch over to spring and summer meals. And it has 5 different covers, so you can pick whichever one works best for you. But this is how I'm able to keep track of all the ingredients, things that I have in my freezer, meals that I'm making, and also all of those grocery budget items that I keep track of in my planner to really focus on making sure that I'm saving money for our family. In the description is a link to the shop and a discount code, and if you're not signed up for the newsletter, make sure that you do that. And if you want more ideas on how to use ingredients to make those fall and winter meals, make sure you go back all the way to the beginning of this playlist to last January, where I started this, and there's so many ideas throughout the year that we have put on these videos to help you brainstorm things that your family might like too.